Coming up today, the thaw appears to be over. North Korea ramps up tension by making nuclear threats. South Korea, the US and the rest of the international community urge the regime to behave. The World Trade Organization warns that growth in exports and imports is lagging far behind the pace during past expansions, threatening productivity and living standards. First ratings agency Standard & Poor's raises Korea's credit rating by 1 notch to a high not seen in almost 18 years. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello to our viewers around the world. It's 6 a.m. on Wednesday, September 16th here in Seoul. Thanks for joining us. I'm Mark Broome. And we start with North Korea's latest threats. The regime has hinted at another possible nuclear bomb test should the United States and South Korea continue to denounce Pyongyang. The claim came less than a day after the North strongly indicated that it will launch a rocket next month to coincide with a key anniversary. Han Da-eun reports.
Just as inter-Korean relations have begun to warm up again, North Korea is issuing threats of further provocations. North Korea's director of the Atomic Energy Institute told the state-run Korean Central News Agency that the country is ready to respond with nuclear weapons at any time if the U.S. and its allies continue to make hostile comments towards North Korea. He said that the country has improved the levels of its nuclear weapons with various upgrades in quality and quantity. He added that the country has resumed operation of its nuclear reactor at its Yongbyon nuclear complex. Such claims come on the heels of Seoul and Washington's response to Pyongyang's announcement made late Monday that hinted at another possible rocket launch in the near future. Many analysts have been predicting the reclusive regime will carry out a launch in October to mark the 70th anniversary of the founding of its ruling Workers' Party. While there are fears North Korea's series of threats could block planned inter-Korean talks and family reunions, Seoul and Washington has made it clear that there will be consequences if Pyongyang forges ahead with the launch.
So any satellite launch using ballistic missile technology would be a clear violation of those resolutions.
Experts in South Korea mostly agree that the planned round of high-level inter-Korean talks should take place as soon as possible to bar North Korea from going through with the launch. Han Da-eun, Arirang News.
And the United States has told North Korea that it would be making a mistake if it conducts a nuclear or missile test like it has threatened in recent days. U.S. Assistant Secretary of State Daniel Russell said Tuesday that either type of test would represent a setback in North Korea's hopes to grow its economy and to end its isolation. He also said it would set back international hopes for successful negotiations. The U.S. official stated that North Korea can get what it wants, such as economic growth, security and respect, but only if it makes the right decisions and takes the right path. South Korea's Vice Foreign Minister says now is the time for the international community to build up the momentum generated by the nuclear deal with Iran and unite efforts to resolve the North Korean nuclear issue. Speaking at the ongoing general meeting of the International Atomic Energy Agency in Vienna on Tuesday, Jo Tae-yeol stressed that North Korea must abandon all of its existing nuclear programs in a complete, verifiable and irreversible manner in accordance with the relevant UN Security Council resolutions. He also urged North Korea to fully comply with its nuclear non-proliferation treaty and the IAEA safeguards obligations and become a responsible member of the international community. And President Park Geunhye and European Council President Donald Tusk have urged North Korea to stop its missile and nuclear weapons programs. In a joint press statement issued after their summit in Seoul on Tuesday, both leaders called on Pyongyang to immediately cease all related activities as required by UN Security Council resolutions. They also asked the North to stop further provocations and instead work towards improving its dire human rights situation. The two sides also expressed hope that the South Korea-EU free trade deal would fully enter into force within this year. And on domestic matters, President Park Geunhye has described the recent labour reform agreement as a big step forward for the economy. But she also went a step further on Tuesday. The president said the government plans to start a fund aimed at creating more jobs for young people. Hwang Sang-hee reports.
At a cabinet meeting on Tuesday, President Park Geunhye hailed a landmark deal reached among representatives from labor unions, employers, and the government.
이번 대타협은 저성장과 고용 창출력 저하라는 위기 상황을 극복하고 새로운 일자리 창출 기반을 마련하기 위해 선제적으로 노동시장 개혁을 추진하기로 했다는데 큰 의미가 있습니다.
The agreement covers contentious issues like adoption of a so-called wage peak system, which gradually cuts salaries for senior workers to free money for younger ones, and revising the country's labor law to make it easier for employers to lay off underperforming workers. Addressing concerns that some companies may take advantage of the relaxed regulations, President Park vowed to ensure that the deal would not lead to easier dismissals of employees. At the same meeting, the president introduced a plan to create a fund to boost job creation for young people.
We will create a fund called Youth Jobs Fund or Youth Hope Fund that will provide more opportunities for young people. We hope to see contributions from people from all walks of life, centering on the leaders in society.
The fund is expected to be used for running social programs such as tailored training for young job seekers. An official at the presidential office said the fund will be based solely on donations, leaving open the possibility that President Park could be the first donor to the newly created fund. Hwang Sang-hee, Arirang News.
Now, ahead of Tuesday's cabinet meeting, Labour management and government representatives unanimously passed the labour reform deal, ending months of arduous talks. The deal was reached over the weekend among the three parties and gained the approval of the umbrella Labour union back on Monday. It will now be passed on to Parliament, where it will once again need to be approved before it can take effect. But it appears pushing the bill through the National Assembly will be a difficult task, as the main opposition party is fighting against it. Our Ji Myung-gil has the details.
The ruling Saenuri party is calling for the speedy legislation of a new labor reform bill. The bill is modeled after a hard-won deal struck Sunday by a tripartite committee involving labor management and government representatives.
If we fail to make headway in legislating the labor reform bill, then the economy and the labor market will face difficulties starting next year. We ask the opposition party to respect the tripartite agreement and cooperate on legislating the bill this year.
The ruling bloc expects the deal will increase flexibility in Korea's rigid labor market, as job creation is the government's top priority amid a protracted economic slowdown. The three sides agreed to set up criteria and procedures for changes in employment terms, only after further negotiations with labor and management. The main opposition New Politics Alliance for Democracy Party has denounced the deal and characterized it as collusion between the government and management, saying it will worsen the labor market.
The Korean Confederation of Trade Unions is also against the tripartite deal. This is the result of the government's unilateral push for labor reforms.
The KCTU, an umbrella union that boycotted the negotiations, said it will launch protests and go on strike to block the bill. The opposition party concluded by saying that debate on the matter has just begun. Ji Myung-gil, Arirang News.
Now, global trade growth is expected to trail the already sluggish expansion of the world economy for a third year in a row. According to the Wall Street Journal, the World Trade Organization is set to lower its 2015 trade forecast after a sudden contraction in the first half of the year, the first such decline since 2009. That, of course, the height of the global financial crisis. The WTO had earlier forecast the growth rate at 3.3%. Economists attribute the sharp drop in global trade growth to China's economic slowdown and a decline in its international investment. Now, Beijing's shift from imports to manufacturing its own products has hit many of its business partners very hard. The United States, reported a 5.6% drop in exports during the January to July period. South Korea's exports fell almost 15% in August from a year earlier. Global credit ratings agency Standard & Poor's has raised Korea's rating by one notch to the fourth highest level of AA-. The agency cited the country's fiscal soundness and a drop in external debt for the upgrade. It added that Korea's favourable policy environment would make its economy grow faster than other developed nations over the next 3 to 5 years. The upgrade has put Korea on the same level as China and Japan. It's been almost 2 decades since Korea received a AA- rating from S&P. Experts and business executives gathered in Seoul on Tuesday for a conference on energy security. And as our Connie Kim tells us, a call for shale gas was the key topic up for debate.
Korean companies are facing numerous challenges in light of the global transition to a low-carbon economy. They also stand to benefit from an increasing array of opportunities. These issues were the focus of the 4th Global Energy Security Conference hosted by Korea's Foreign Ministry.
Korea depends on imports for 96% of its energy consumption. It is important to acquire stable energy resources as it's fundamental to national development and linked to national security.
Currently, fossil fuels are the principal source of energy in Korea. But at the conference, there were calls for shale gas. This is a natural gas found trapped within shale formations. One energy expert called it a game changer for the energy industry.
We're already seeing an impact of U.S. shale gas production on LNG prices in this country, Korea. And you add Chinese shale gas supplies and you add Argentine gas supplies to the mix and increase the LNG fleet, it's going to have a positive economic impact for everybody, like Korea, that uses natural gas.
But some experts said it's going to take time and more investment for shale gas to become more mainstream.
Shale basins in the US have been around and people have the data for that basin for hundreds of years. The only other basin in the world that people have data for is Argentina.
Despite the high cost, many analysts said one of the biggest benefits is a short exploration and production process of at least 2 months. Aside from shale, some of the other topics of debate at the conference were the lifting of sanctions on Iran and the impact of sanctions on the Russian energy industry. Korean officials believe the discussions held during the conference laid the groundwork for the UN Climate Change Conference in Paris in December. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
Now, there's more to Korea than K-pop and high-tech devices. Seoul Undong, a unique community movement that helped lay the economic foundation for modern-day Korea, drew hundreds of international officials to the southeastern city of Gyeongju on Tuesday. Oh Soo-young explains why it's gaining so much global attention.
Korea's Haemaul Undong, or the New Village movement, transformed impoverished villages in the 1970s, reviving the country from wartime devastation. Promoting diligent self-help and cooperation, the movement motivated locals to strive for higher income and living standards. With its success, it has become a global model for regional development. Currently, over 130 countries have adopted the movement in their own villages. To share in the success of the Haemaul Undong, 600 officials, experts and students from 60 countries have gathered in Korea at the Global Haemaul Undong Forum.
I know Haemaul Undong is a very good program, especially in developing countries like Vietnam, Cambodia, Philippines, about the rural and agricultural sectors. I really want to apply Haemaul Undong in my communities. I think we can do it, and let's do it.
Participants expressed their hopes of further spreading this Haemaul spirit to tackle poverty and foster growth across Asia and Africa.
Many countries use this model to develop their economies from being just aid-dependent to self-propelling. So World Bank will try to partner with Haemaul movement across many countries in the world.
Encouraging communities to take up a can-do spirit, Korea's Haemaul Undong is expected to foster more rural initiatives, creating a legacy of hope and development around the globe. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News, Gyeongju.
Well, that's all we have for now on this Wednesday morning here in Seoul. I'm Mark Broome. Have a wonderful day and thank you as always for tuning in. Goodbye.